I suffered a breakdown and I also had depression. I kind of lost my way in my life, and I didn't really have very much confidence in myself. I started to get panic attacks, and I think that's what led to the breakdown. But I was also dissatisfied with my life and I felt in a rut. I knew that I had to change myself, but I didn't feel that I had the strength to do it. There was a gap of a year and I was building myself up, and then I started to come to the church. From when I started coming to the very first meeting, I just felt inspired and empowered. From then on, I started going 3 times a week. I was gaining all this knowledge in practical ways, you know, how to use things to develop a confidence in myself and a faith in myself that I could do things. Now I have dreams for my life, and I'm going to become a potter. I'm going to buy a bit of land. I'm going to build an eco house on it. I'm just stronger now, and I'm much more joyful in my life and more excited about my life.
Hello, a very good evening. Welcome to Finding Answers. You know, strength, whether a person is strong or weak, strength comes from within the person. It comes from inside. It has nothing to do with the way that you look. It has nothing to do with the clothes that you wear. You can be someone who didn't necessarily have an easy upbringing, and yet you're confident, you're strong. On the other hand, you can be someone who has apparently a lot going for you in terms of your appearance, in terms of things, good things that have happened to you, and yet you are not a strong person. So tonight we're talking about self-confidence, and a lot of people think that self-confidence comes from the way that you look, from how, what your appearance is like, how much money you have in the bank, the way that your education. But the truth is that there are people who have none of these things, and yet they don't lack this strength, they don't lack this self-confidence. While others still, they have apparently everything that is going for them, and still they don't believe in themselves, they are weak. And when I say weak, they are weak within themselves. They have no strength to face the problems that are before them. Perhaps this is exactly what has been happening to you. You know what you want. You know what you want to achieve. You have these great plans. You maybe have things that are going for you. If other people were to look at your life, maybe they would envy certain things that you have. The problem is that maybe you don't believe in yourself. Maybe you have people who believe in you, family members, teachers. You have a boss, a manager who says, come on, just believe in what you can do. The problem is that maybe you don't. The one person that matters doesn't believe in themselves, and that's maybe you. Have a look at this video that talks about tonight's topic. We'll be back in just a moment to talk about this and also to share with you someone's story who had people around her who believed in her. She just didn't believe in herself.
Self-esteem is the understanding a person creates of his or her worth, based on emotions and beliefs about how he or she fits into or performs in any given situation. If you have a healthy self-esteem, your beliefs about yourself will generally be positive. You may experience difficult times in your life, but you will generally be able to deal with these without them having too much of a long-term negative impact on you. Your confidence will be strong and you will generally bounce back from defeat. However, If you suffer with low self-esteem, your beliefs about yourself will often be negative. You will tend to focus on your weaknesses or mistakes that you have made, and you may find it hard to recognize the positive parts of your personality. You will have poor confidence and may blame yourself for any difficulties or failures that you have. Self-esteem is a characteristic that truly shapes your life, and with low self-esteem comes low confidence. People who aren't confident in who they are constantly need the support of others. They often look to others to see what they think of them. They will put on a brave face when they are actually not feeling happy, and they will become defensive if someone challenges them. But by finding ways to build your confidence, you will prove to yourself that you can do it. You can move out of your comfort zone and succeed in new things. This, in turn, will help raise your self-esteem.
You know, the problem is that if you don't have self-confidence, if you don't have the strength we were talking about, it shows in virtually everything you do. It shows in the way that you walk. Did you know that you can see if a person is self-confident, if they have self-confidence or not, even in the way that they walk, even in the way that they speak? I truly believe that you only have to look at how someone presents themselves, introduces themselves, to see if this person believes in themselves or not. I have here Victoria with me tonight. Good evening, Victoria.
Good evening.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Do you agree with what I just said?
Yeah, I think so. I think people will give off a certain air of confidence. You meet those certain types of people that will walk into a room and everybody takes notice. But on the other hand, you get the people who maybe hunch over, they won't give you eye contact. And that, I think, yeah, definitely is a surefire way to see whether somebody does have high self-esteem or self-confidence.
So what about those people, for example, who have everything going for them? They have good looks, they have a good job, they have a good career, good education, and yet they don't have self-confidence.
Well, psychologists could say that, I suppose it's the nature-nurture debate. It could be that people are born that way, so confidence could be part of our DNA, but we're not quite sure about that. Or on the other hand, it could be due to experience. So someone who has maybe experienced humiliation or embarrassment, or families who don't provide them with confidence when they're younger, they could then have low confidence and low self-esteem. So it could be that they're born like that, or it could be that they've learned to behave that way.
And in your opinion, as a psychologist, if a person has lost their self-confidence because of a bad experience or humiliation, can they recover that?
Absolutely. It might be difficult to figure out exactly how you go about that, because we talked in the past about the brain having neural plasticity. So we will make new pathways in our brains based on experience. So once this new pathway has been made, we then will see everything. It's called a negative bias. We will see everything that we do through this bias. So maybe through a low self-belief. But you absolutely can learn and be equipped with the practical ways of gaining self-confidence and upping, again, your self-esteem.
That's right. And here's the problem. The thing is that if you have lost your self-esteem, if you have lost this strength, when a person is full of self-esteem, it shows in everything. It shows in how they speak over the phone. It shows in how they introduce themselves to someone they've never met. It shows in everything. On the other hand, when you've lost that, it also shows. And perhaps you are that person who used to be confident, who used to be strong, who used to believe in yourself and didn't really care whether you looked a certain way or you had a privilege of bringing or not. You didn't care about that. But maybe you lost this, and since you lost that, you're like a half-baked version of yourself. You were never the same person again, and all these things you wanted to do with your life, you've fallen short because you lost this self-confidence. And Victoria was talking about this new pathways that our brain can create. And what better way to create a new pathway in your brain than to ask God to help you see yourself in a different way. Maybe the problem is how you see yourself. There are people who see you with all this potential, and the only person who can't see that you have this potential is yourself. You have become perhaps your worst enemy. You know, you have people who surround you, are rooting for you, who believe in you, and you don't believe in yourself. And that's a problem. Perhaps you keep losing opportunities at work, relationship opportunities. Maybe you put things off, you pretend the problem is not there just because you're afraid to deal with it, because you lost your ability, your strength to face that problem and to overcome it. I want to tell you that you can gain this confidence back. Maybe you say, James, how can I do that? Because I've been trying to do this by myself and it hasn't worked. I've read every self-help book in the market, you name it, I've read it. That's not the solution. It's not the solution is not for you to take a book which is someone else's ideas. For example, I have Victoria here. Victoria, you could write a book on how to get your self-confidence, right? But that's your idea of how I could get my self-confidence back. Now, if I take your ideas and I try to implement them in my own mind, my own head, there's no guarantee that they'll work. Perhaps your advice can work, can help some, but not everybody. But the thing is that God has access to your brain, to your heart, to your emotions, to your thoughts. He can change everything. He can reset whatever has been damaged in how you see yourself, and He can change the way that you see yourself. I truly believe that. Maybe you lost your self-confidence, you lost your strength, you want to get it back, you want to be someone who's determined, who's strong, who's not afraid of anything, someone who's not afraid of taking chances, of doing things that you've been putting off because of your fear. You can get your strength back. Get in contact with us. We want to pray for you tonight. The number to call is 020-7686-6300, 020-7686-6300, or send us an email to help@findinganswers.tv. Since it is possible to create new pathways in our brain, let's ask God to do that. I have Victoria here. How can people get in contact via Twitter and Facebook?
So if you'd like to talk to us via social media, you can send us a tweet. Just start your tweet with @FindAnswersTV, or talk to us on Facebook. Just search for Finding Answers.
Let's go to a short break. When we come back, I'll be speaking to someone here in the studio who overcame, who lost her self-confidence initially, but got it back. Today, if she wouldn't tell you this, you wouldn't believe it, because she comes across very confident. Let's see what she did that worked for her.
Once upon a time, there was Alice. She enjoyed a drink, her one simple pleasure. She could stop when she wanted, downing a little more for good measure. At work, concealed bottles and extra strong mints were the game. The warm, happy feeling was fading and giving way to shame. The months and days became a blur of hospital lights. Married to a heavy drinker, her prince was charming, apart from the violence, arguments and fights. On the kitchen floor, she comes to. She hears, "Mum, this is hurting me more than it's hurting you." The alcohol was plentiful, but had dried up all the laughter. She sat alone and pondered, can I really have a happily ever after? Living with an addiction is no fairy tale, but a life with addictions is a story that can be rewritten. Addiction Cleansing Therapy. If you are struggling with any type of addiction, speak to us on our 24-hour helpline. Call 020-7686-6000 or head to addictioncleansingtherapy.org to watch the true stories of regular people like Julie who took action to beat their addictions. Act for change. The pursuit of happiness. What will make you happy? Success? Fame? New shoes? Financial security? Love? Education? independence, family. Sometimes in the pursuit of things we think will bring us happiness. Sometimes we fail to see that we aren't happy, or we never find it. We live in a world of people. Rather than pursue things to make you happy, what if we all worked to make each other happy? Wouldn't we all be happier?
Welcome back to Finding Answers. Tonight our topic is improving confidence and self-esteem. So the question is, why do some people struggle with confidence and self-esteem issues and others don't? These very important aspects of our personality do develop during childhood. Endless encouragement from caregivers can ensure that young children believe in themselves and their abilities. That even if they fail at something, they will have the self-belief to try and try again. But at any point in our lives, we can be exposed to extensive criticism, embarrassment and humiliation. And it's episodes like this that can cause us to lose confidence in our abilities, in certain tasks. But what's even more detrimental is that these feelings could then be generalised from these specific tasks to all tasks. So people can go from having high self-esteem to developing poor confidence and then onto a lack of self-belief. So what we are saying is that actually a one-off small event could then be detrimental for the rest of our lives.
Now, we're going to meet this young lady, Talisa Wallace, who's here with us. And again, like I said earlier, unless she would have told us here in the studio that she struggled with self-confidence issues, we would never have guessed. So let's meet Talisa, who's here in the studio with us.
It's pushing me for the rest of the week, so it's like a boost.
Things were really tight.
Today, the way I see myself is completely different.
Talisa, are you sure you had self-confidence issues?
Absolutely certain.
Because when we're talking here before we started the program, and usually people get a little bit nervous because they're coming on live TV and so on. You seemed very calm, very relaxed, very confident. So something changed, for
Definitely.
sure, right? But where did this problem with lack of self-confidence start? Was it always a problem?
So yes, it's only now in adulthood, looking back, that I realise where it came from. So growing up, I came from a family that, my mother wasn't a very affectionate person. She wasn't the kind to hug me and kiss me, etc. So it meant that when I went to school, as we know, childhood can be quite, kids can be quite cruel. So hearing all the kind of negative things people said to me, I literally carried them. And when I went home, there wasn't necessarily anything to counteract that. Mm-hmm. So it's not like I'd hear, all these positive things like you're beautiful and all these kind of encouraging things. I mean, my mother was there physically and she supported me in everything I did, but it wasn't that kind of very overt, support that I needed. Mm-hmm. And so it meant that I just literally, it just kind of built up. And it kind of manifested in so many different ways. So it meant that the way I communicated, I was someone who I didn't make friends very easily, especially the transition between primary school to secondary school. It meant that literally I kind of, as time went on, I kind of just, I kind of just closed off from everyone. Mm-hmm. So it meant that everything I said, I thought no one cared about. If I was going to make a joke, no one would laugh. It was kind of like all in my head, but for me, it became my real world where I wouldn't connect with anyone. And so the more people said to me things like, you're shy, or basically said what they thought of my character, I believed it and became the very thing that they said. If that makes
Did you
sense.
have people who believed in you, who said, look, you have so much potential, or you're really smart, really intelligent? Did you have people who tell you that?
To some extent, but it wasn't maybe as emphasised as it might have needed to be. So, you know, I did relatively well in school, so I'd hear positive things from the teachers, and, you know, my mum would support me in terms of, you know, my academia. But when it came to kind of like confidence things, and especially self-image, I just thought I was the ugliest person alive. I don't even know why. I just really thought I was. And it reflected in the way that I would dress. Like, I would just pick anything. I wouldn't think about what I was wearing. There's no chance you'd find me wearing makeup or anything like that. I just didn't really care. Thought there was no point. I just thought I was ugly beyond whatever.
So no matter, I mean, you said there weren't a lot of people who would be telling you all the time, emphasizing how beautiful you were, how intelligent you were. But if someone were to tell you that, you wouldn't really believe them.
No, I probably think they were just being nice, or they felt sorry for me.
And you carried this way of seeing yourself until what age?
Probably at least until about 2021, probably. So, I mean, this followed me again through to college, through to university, and I mean, that's where it kind of reached its height. I remember kind of just locking myself in my room and just being there for days on end, not even wanting to come out, because this is a thing, it kind of snowballs when you kind of have this kind of ideal in your head. I mean, I had friends, but I wouldn't ever think of going around to visit them or calling them. It was the weirdest thing, but I would not call anyone. I think, why would they want to hear from me? Why would they want to hear what I've got to say? Why would they laugh at my jokes? I would never go there. I would always think that if I went to go and speak to someone, they just think, oh, it's her. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of this thing, and it snowballed until it became my world. So I just thought it's easier to separate myself. And I always just thought that's just the way it's going to be indefinitely.
What about prospects for the future? What did you see yourself doing in terms of a career, of a relationship in the future? So
because academia was one side of my life that I did really well in, that was my thing. So I kind of really focused on that. But it's very interesting you kind of speak about it, because even when I went into the working world, it meant that in roles that I had, again, that would manifest itself. So if I was in a team meeting, unless I had to speak, I'd say nothing. I'd have an amazing idea, I'd say nothing. I would stutter, I would not believe in myself. If I had an idea, I'd need to check with 1 million people before I implemented it. It just meant that I wasn't a confident person in the workplace. So no matter, even though it was out of, you know, the school, university, college realm, it meant that it followed me through to my working world, and I didn't expect that. So I was just like, here I am again.
So it's exactly like we were saying, that, you know, you can see a person's self-confidence in the way that they speak, in the way that they walk.
Definitely.
How, by the way, it's an interesting question. How would you walk?
I mean, from what I remember...
I don't think I've ever asked anyone this before, but it's something interesting to...
I mean, from what I remember, because I never, in my opinion, never looked nice and didn't make any effort, I'd probably just kind of, I guess it was kind of slouchy, just because I didn't really care. I mean, I'd never walk with confidence. I mean, eye contact was something I'd never do again. And like I think I mentioned before, my sentences would always trail off. So I'd probably say something and then kind of end like that. So no one could really hear, and then no one would care anyway because it trailed off. So, I mean, the way that I carried myself was just kind of in that bubble.
Did you have hopes of a relationship, like, you know, dating, getting engaged, getting married, finding someone? Did you have hopes?
It's so interesting, because I didn't ever believe it was possible to have a solid relationship until the end. I didn't ever think that was possible. I thought if I ever get married, I would definitely have a prenup. I always said that. I was like, I don't want his money, he's not going to have any of mine. And I just thought it's going to be a matter of time until he cheats, because I didn't see that. I didn't know it was possible that it could happen.
So it's like even if you got married, you would think that it's only a matter of time until he cheats.
Definitely. I thought it wasn't possible. Someone will have to do it first. I don't know if it's going to be me, but I just thought that it's not possible.
That's a very grim view of marriage, right?
Definitely.
Okay, I know that things change, and you're going to... I mean, surely people at home now can see that your sentences aren't trailing off, and you aren't shy of confidence. We want to find out why. I mean, there is a reason why, and you're going to tell us about that in a moment. But if you say, look, you know, the way she was describing herself, how she was before, and how she was afraid to live, afraid to speak up, afraid to... It's like you were afraid to be happy, Talisa, because thinking that you could even find someone, but it was only a matter of time until that person would cheat on you. It's like you were afraid to be happy, and then something bad would happen.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. I mean, even from just in a perspective of relationships, in my mind, I was this really independent person that had everything under control, and I was in control of the relationships, and I wouldn't get too attached. But at the same time, it was looking for the affection that I didn't get, and I didn't realize that at the time. Even though you'd hear it a million times, I didn't understand that that's what I was doing. So it meant that people who I clearly knew didn't really care, they didn't really love me, I'd just be there anyway because that's all I was going to get, really.
And the problem with what you were saying earlier, for example, if you believe that maybe you can even have someone, but sooner or later this person is gonna cheat on you, so get a prenup, or that kind of approach to anything, it's like you're expecting to fail. And I'm sure that Victoria is gonna tell us a little bit more about this after the break. So don't go anywhere, because we're gonna hear how Talisa changed her life, but Victoria is also going to let us into the psychology behind this defense mechanism of expecting failure so that you don't feel too disappointed when it happens. Don't go anywhere.
This is your UCKG timetable. We are open 7 days a week, helping you to make a new beginning. Monday, a meeting focused on achieving more in your financial life. Tuesday, prayers for healing. Wednesday, a meeting teaching you to develop in your spiritual life. Thursday, a special prayer for the family. Friday, a service for your spiritual deliverance. Saturday, Find the One, a service specifically tailored for your love life. Sunday, Reconnect with God, the main meeting for your spiritual strength.
Steering killer drones searching for us. Aircraft missiles won't reach Syria for several months. Fighter jets to be outside.
She told me, you are beautiful. I love you. Say again. You are beautiful.
Your destination. A destination that's not defined by your circumstances, by what's happening to you now, by what happened to you in the past.
So today was my first time and I absolutely loved it.
Come and see. They need to come and really test it.
You are a warrior, and we need these qualities that you have to come and defend our household.
Just a big eye opener on how positive changes will make such a big difference in all that I do, so yeah.
What captured me was the title, The Inner Healing, because I've been going through a lot in my life and I've overcome them, but there were things that I needed to deal with that were deep down on the inside. And it was the inner healing that captured my thoughts, and I was intrigued to find out what was going on.
You get what you give out.
Women need this. Women need a meeting like this.
No
Welcome back. Before we hear what the people of London have to say about self-confidence and how it affects people, how you can get it back, we were listening to Talisa's story, and she was saying about how even if she believed that she would get married, she expected that person to cheat on her. Now, we were talking about this self-defense mechanism that you expect to fail already so that when it happens you don't feel as disappointed. Victoria, what do you have to say about this? Is there a term for this, by the way?
Well, defensive pessimism is where you will expect the worst on a continual basis. So over and over again, you believe that the worst can happen. And obviously the reason for this is that you protect yourself, but actually it's a way of empowering yourself when you have no power. Because you believe that something bad is going to happen, you tend to actually act in a way where something bad does happen, and then you say, see, I was right, something bad did happen. So it is a defense mechanism, but it's also a way of empowering yourself. It's not a positive way of doing it, but it is a way of empowering yourself when you have very, very little confidence.
Because then the problem is that if you think like that and you go into something, you go into a job or you open a business and you think, well, this business, I'm sure at some point it's going to go wrong because things always go wrong for me, then automatically you're not going to put your all into that because you're expecting it to go wrong, right? You're not going all guns blazing.
That's it, and that's where the self-fulfilling prophecy comes in. So usually with a self-fulfilling prophecy, it's about somebody telling you, you're not very good, this isn't going to work out for you. But also you can do that to yourself. If you tell yourself over and over again that something is going to fail and then you're not going to achieve, then you will automatically put in less effort and look for ways to maybe get out of the situation, not push yourself out of your comfort zone because you truly believe that it's not going to happen anyway.
That's right. But you can change. It is possible to change, and God has the power to change. Remove these fears that you have within you, remove whatever is holding you back, and give you a new lease of life. Let's see what the people of London have to say about today's topic, and we'll come back in just a moment to hear the rest of Talisa's story.
Definitely depression is probably number one.
They're arguing and they're talking negatively about each other.
What is more valuable than another? And so
you can have as many friends and family as you want. It just depends.
Is a common regret, like, oh, like I should have like asked that person out, or like.
Hi, I'm Chika here on the streets of London for Finding Answers. Tonight on the program, we're talking about improving confidence and self-esteem. It's something that shapes all of our lives, but do we all define it in the same way? That's just what I'm going to be asking the general public. Let's see what they say. What does confidence mean to you? How would you define it?
I think it's quite hard to define. It's quite individual, but I think confidence means being able to live a life that you're happy with, and being able to do the sorts of things that you believe you should be able to do, and you shouldn't let other people stop you from doing that.
I think it's difficult to define. Confidence is a complex thing. It's probably why you're asking the question. But being able to, I mean, for example there, being able to take a question and not just give the answer you feel you should give, but being able to take what you know and put that forward.
I think that your confidence is directly related to your faith, and when your faith is strong, your confidence is strong.
I guess to do what you do, to make decisions you do with a smile on your face, and not worry too much about the consequences.
Something interesting someone said there. Someone said, if your faith is strong, then your confidence is strong. And I agree with that. I think the two things are usually, they walk hand in hand. So, Talisa, you were at 21 years old, at your worst point. There were even days you didn't leave your house, right? You would stay indoors for days because you were afraid to have to face the world with this lack of confidence. So where did it all change?
So I remember at that point, I think it was towards the beginning of the year, one of my friends invited me. She invited me to church, and she just kind of invited me, and I said, I'll come along, because at that time I kind of, had ideas. I just knew that there was something else that could probably help me, so I just thought I'd come along. So I came, and over a period of time I kind of learned and understood what faith meant, and I can definitely say that before that I didn't understand the difference between faith and religion. So it was something that I could actually put into practice, something I could use, and that was very, very new. So I would definitely say that as I became more spiritual, as I started to learn and actively seek to understand, as I sought to actively seek to change, that did happen. So I think it's one of those cases where I think I understood also that I had the power to be who I wanted to be. So if I chose, it's just a choice. If I choose to be someone who is shy and who is, this person with no confidence and low self-esteem, I will become that thing. But I can actually choose and say, no, I don't want to be that. And on top of that, the point is I can ask, God for help. And I can ask and he will actually help me. And that's something that I didn't understand before, because suddenly I actually had a helping hand who could help me do what I couldn't do before. So it was definitely one of, obviously the biggest revelations of my life, and it changed everything. I'd say that, again, once I passed a certain spiritual level, it just meant that I suddenly became a new person, because because suddenly I always thought I was weird. I always thought I was strange. And suddenly I knew that I wasn't. I was, the way that God created me, but that wasn't a bad thing. And then suddenly, when I knew who I was, I kind of just ran with it. I know that I'm someone where I like to question. I know I'm someone where I do like to know random facts. It's not a weird thing. So it made me strong in who I was. And because of that, I found a sense of purpose. And because I found a sense of purpose, it made me more confident. So, I'm confident to speak to anyone in any kind of walk of life. I sincerely believe that if you're a human being, you can find common ground with any other human being in the world. I genuinely believe that.
But then again, you weren't this person before, right?
Not at all.
So this is like a new Talisa. This is like Talisa 2.0, right?
Pretty much.
As they usually say. And it's great. And actually, what you said is important, because that strength, that confidence came from somewhere. It wasn't just plucked out of the sky. It was God who gave you this once you had this different understanding. Also, you said earlier that if you were to get married, you expected that not to last forever. How are things in that department right now?
Much better. So I've actually, because I understood basically my value, I didn't understand my value before. Now I know that. It meant that I wouldn't settle for just anyone. The point is, now I know I need someone who has the same faith as me, somebody who sees my value, who believes in me, and I'm happy to say that I have actually found that. So I'm very excited and happy for the future. And so yeah, I definitely say that confidence does filter through to every area of your life, including love life.
So now you don't have a relationship thinking that, at some point this is going to go wrong.
Not at all.
So you see this as something that is going to last forever, exactly. and you're not expecting something to go wrong at some point.
Not at all. Because now great. I can communicate.
Talisa, thank you so much for being on the program. And I want to invite you right now, who saw here very clearly, like we said, if Talisa wouldn't have told us that she struggled with this in the past, no one here would have been any wiser. We wouldn't have known, for sure. And maybe you want this confidence, you want this strength to fight against the problems you have, to do the things you're afraid to do. Maybe you have so many things you want to do, so many dreams you want to achieve, so many people you want to speak to, but you lack that. And the bad thing, the terrible thing, is that you're missing out on so many opportunities. You're missing out on so many things. Imagine, just going back to you again, Talisa, if you were still this person who was there, stuck indoors for days, you'd be missing out on so much right now.
Precisely. There's so many things I've done between then and now, and that I'm looking forward to doing as well. And it definitely is just a dark place. If you are in your house and you kind of feel like, you can't go anywhere, or you don't want to go anywhere with someone, there's no one to go anywhere with, and you're very lonely, it can be a very dark place, and it just burrows you deeper and deeper into it.
Okay, let's do something. Before we go for the break, I'd like you, Talisa, to look at the camera, that camera over there. And there are people right now at home, exactly like you said, people who don't leave the house, who are afraid to leave the house, who are depressed, who struggle with panic attacks, anxiety, lack of self-confidence. What would you tell them right now? If you could speak to them, people who were like you before, what would you tell them?
I just say that there is a different way of being. You don't have to be the person that you always were. If you've always been a certain way, that's all you've ever known, it can change. You're not meant to be this way, you're not created this way necessarily. There is always a way to change that, and it just takes you making a decision, you wanting, you reaching out. And should you do that, you'd be so surprised at the progress you can make. You'd be so surprised at how far you can go. So definitely don't stay there, don't let it consume you. Definitely make the effort to go out there, and God will reach out to you too.
Thank you very much. If you want to change your life based on what she said, give us a call now and you can receive the same help that Talisa received. 020-7686-6300. That's 020-7686-6300, or send us an email to help@findinganswers.tv. I want to show you this video before we go for a break, and when we come back, Pastor Abraham will be here with me to pray for you and to bless the water that you're going to get to drink at the end of this program. Don't go anywhere.
So here we go with tip number 1. Stop comparing yourself. Now, I'm sure at one time or another you've looked at your neighbor, friend, family member, or coworker with envious eyes. You know, you've been enamored with someone else's big salary, picturesque family life, perfect looks. Everyone on occasion falls victim to feeling inadequate as a result of someone else's accomplishments. I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to improve your self-esteem, the very first thing you need to start doing is throw this habit out the window. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Be your own person and love the skin you're in. Next, I want you to keep your thoughts positive. We all have this constant monologue running through our brain, and it's just impossible to turn off that inner voice. If you're constantly thinking negative thoughts that reinforce feelings of low self-esteem, the result will be just that. It's so important to stay aware of your thinking and not fall into the habit of self-deprecation or talking down to yourself. Number 3 is accept all compliments with thank you. You may find that a lot of times you'll receive a compliment and respond with, "Oh, it was nothing," or "It's no big deal," whatever. I want you to know that this is a huge way to sabotage self-esteem. When you essentially refuse a compliment, you're telling yourself that you're not worth the compliment. You devalue yourself. I know this may sound kind of overdramatic. You're not thinking at the time that the compliment is given, "Oh, I'm not worthy of praise." But in fact, the action of turning down the compliment by brushing it off, it sends a message to your subconscious brain, which in turn lessens your confidence and feelings of self-worth. Number 4, find positive input. It is so important to engage in activities that make you feel good. Read books that inspire you, watch movies that make you laugh. One thing I like to do is watch some kind of motivational or inspirational clip on YouTube every week. Something that really puts my mind in a hopeful, positive light. Another way to find positive input is to create a new challenge for yourself. This could be something like learning a new language, mastering a skill, or just working towards self-improvement in some area of your life. You want to associate with supportive people. Nothing lowers self-esteem faster than associating with people who make you feel bad about yourself. Unfortunately, this is a common scenario for people with low self-esteem. They tend to group with people who they seek approval from. It's a scenario that sabotages self-worth because they'll always be worried about what members of the group think of them. Break this habit by finding people who love you from the get-go. Hang out with people who accept you unconditionally and respect who you are. And by the way, people won't respect you for who you are until you respect you for who you are. So work towards that goal first.
Are you a duck? What can it do? It swims. It walks. It flies. But does it do them all well? Yes, a duck can do all of the above, but it's not known for being great at any. So, are you a duck? Rather than attempting to do all things, why not be the best at one thing at a time? You will find you'll actually learn to be great at more things.
Now, people normally think that there's no greater influence as powerful as Hollywood, but I beg to differ because Godlywood is really making its mark in the world. Now, for those of you that don't know, Godlywood is an initiative aiming to lead women of all ages to become exemplary women of God. We teach women how to make a positive impact in their own lives and their families through monthly tasks and meetings. And one of the great things about Godlywood as well is that we also learn to be giving, so we go out and help our communities. And one of the ways we do that in the UK through regular visits to elderly homes to pamper them and to keep them company. We also have regular events to help abused women, and we have many more plans to help our community. I ended up overcoming lots of insecurities and bad habits, and I've grown so much, and one of the things that I finally beat was the shyness that I had, and I'm doing things that I never ever imagined that I would be doing. And we have many more plans to help our community. So to summarise everything, Godlywood really changes lives, and I'm so privileged to be a part of it.
It's a shame that maybe the one person who doesn't believe you can overcome the lack of self-confidence is you. I believe in you. My colleague here, Pastor Abraham, believes in you. Good evening, Pastor Abraham.
Good evening, Bishop.
Every single person that walks through the doors of our church, every person, no matter what they look like, no matter how they speak, no matter, we believe in them. It's like we have these super glasses on, that when we look at them, we don't see that person there. We already see them completely transformed, right?
Yes, and you know, Bishop, we have seen so many results and testimonies from people who come to this program and share with us their life story. So you see how important it is to come, or maybe to give a call, to give us a call. For example, I was just thinking now, faith is an assurance of things hoped for. So then we have negative faith and positive faith. So people who are now watching us and they are struggling with this problem of self-confidence, they are using the negative faith of things. Mm-hmm. They are always predicting something bad to happen to them. But when this person comes to the church, she will learn to use the positive faith that is already inside of her, but maybe has been neutralized by the circumstances, by the negative words he or she has heard, maybe from parents, from family members, from brothers and sisters, and this has been piled up. And it's kind of has been, you know, neutralized the positive faith. But you do have faith inside you. But is using the negative faith.
And of course, for this change of mentality to happen, it takes time. You know, I'm sure Talisa will tell you that she didn't become this confident person overnight. It took time, but you can change. And the first step is in allowing yourself to be surrounded by people who believe in you. Allow yourself to be surrounded by people that no matter how you see yourself, those people always see you in the best possible light. We see you, I can even say we see you like God sees you. Every father looks at his son in a way, he doesn't see just that baby, he sees that baby as a doctor, well married, successful. And we look at you and we see that. We see the untapped potential that you have, you know, becoming completely fulfilled in your life. You have the opportunity to do that. I want to invite you right now for you to join me and my colleague, Pastor Abraham, here for a prayer. And we're going to pray here that the fear that you have within you, the fear to be happy, the fear of failure, for that to be ripped out of your mind, out of your heart. And for this faith, this courage, this confidence to be instilled in you, so that after this prayer, you perhaps are not going to be completely a different person, but this will already be the start, the beginning of something new. I have here with me now a glass with water that I'll hold in my hands in a few moments. Prepare your glass with water now. Let's pray. Let's ask for God to make this amazing transformation in you right now.
Prepare now for the moment of prayer. If you would like us to make a prayer and include you in the Finding Answers prayer book, send your name and prayer request to help@findinganswers.tv.
My Lord and my Father, right now maybe there is a need for a transplant, a spiritual transplant in this person's life. Just like a doctor can do an organ transplant. You can remove, my Lord, you can uproot the fears that have controlled this person. You can uproot whatever it is that has robbed this person of the self-confidence they've carried within them. You have the power to do this. And you can instill in them, you can plant in them the seed of something new, the seed of a new personality, the seed of courage, of faith, of being fearless to face whatever that it was that until today this person was afraid to face head on. So my Lord, instill in this person this courage right now, this confidence right now, my Lord. And from the moment this person wakes up in the morning, let this person have a newfound way of seeing themselves, of interacting with the people around them, a newfound way of dealing with their problems. My Lord, as they will drink of this water that is now being blessed, wash away the past feelings of fear and doubts, and let there be a newfound courage inside of them. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, you may now drink of this water there where you are. I want to let you know that anytime you need help, help is just a phone call away, an email away. Feel free to contact us. Until midnight, we will be here close to our the telephones here in our prayer line. You can contact us or send us an email, and we will be able to answer you anytime during the day or night, whatever problem you're going through. Okay, it's been a pleasure to be with you. Until next time, may God bless you abundantly.